Stories of success often start from a place of pain. My guest on the Thin Thinking podcast today, Maria Santa Lucia, was stuck in her life, feeling sick, like her body wasn't working anymore, and scared about what would happen if it got worse. In this place of both physical and mental pain, Maria found a turning point in a place within herself that had the courage to change. That part within her began to grow into a powerful voice of her inner coach. 100 pounds lighter now, Maria is the picture of health, happily running around her bed and breakfast in Homer, Alaska, and full of energy and self-love. Come hear Maria's amazing weight story that is both inspirational and motivational. So put your warm sweater on because we are going to Homer, Alaska, and come on in. Did you know that our struggle with weight doesn't start with the food on your plate or get fixed in the gym? 80% of our weight struggle is mental. That's right. The key to unlocking long-term weight release and management begins in your mind. Hi there, I'm Rita Black. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, weight loss expert, best-selling author, and the creator of the Shift Weight Mastery process. And not only have I helped thousands of people over the past 20 years achieve long-term weight mastery, I am also a former weight struggler, carb addict, and binge eater. And after 2 decades of failed diets and fad weight loss programs, I lost 40 pounds with the help of hypnosis. Not only did I release all that weight, I have kept it off for 25 years. Enter the Thin Thinking podcast where you too will learn how to remove the mental roadblocks that keep you struggling. I'll give you the thin thinking tools, skills, and insights to help you develop the mindset you need, not only to achieve your ideal weight, but to stay there long term and live your best life. Hello, friends. Hello. We are coming to you from the crispy and chilly northern part of the world, Alaska. At least in the summer, though, it's nice and warm. And I hope you're well today. I'm excited to share Maria Santa Lucia with you. Maria is quite a woman. She built her own 7-unit bed and breakfast in Homer, Alaska, and raised 4 boys there. And she told me stories about raking the snow off the roof in the winter time. Can you imagine that? But as capable as she was, Maria struggled desperately with her weight most of her life and used food for comfort and stress and really didn't know how to stop doing that. But she made an incredible pivot and has now released 100 pounds. So I can't wait to share her story with you. Now, if you're interested in making your own transformation this coming week, I am offering, today and tomorrow, the last days, that we are offering the self-study version of the Shift with over $800 worth of bonuses, including my Shift Weight Express, which is a program with 5 of my top hypnosis downloads of all times, including exercise, drinking less for weight release. So check that out. And just the links are in the show notes. And see how this hypnosis-based 30-day transformational process can change your life and your weight. The link is in the show notes, like I said. Now let's talk to Maria. Welcome, Maria. I am really, really excited to have you on the Thin Thinking podcast here today.
Yeah, well, thank you. I'm privileged to be here.
As Maria and I are talking, we've been talking a little bit. I see Maria's got this beautiful glow on her face, but also behind her. She lives all the way up in Alaska, and tell our listeners about what you've been up to, because I've been asking you all these questions because it's so fascinating.
Okay, well, I live in Homer, Alaska, and this is a little town that's 220 miles south of Anchorage. And my town, it's a fishing town, but it also caters to tourists. And so I own a bed and breakfast here in Alaska. I have a bed and breakfast lodge, And I love to host people. That's one of my favorite things. And one of the things that I'm up to now that it's spring and our guests are due to start arriving, usually the season is, Memorial Day is the big one, big beginning. And we last through this summer. And so I went up to get some of my workers, and that kind of intrigued Rita to hear, like, pick up your workers. And it's like, yeah. So I try to get some workers from different places. They come, they live with me, and I help me through the season, which is pretty special for me and for them both. And I also have to shop in Anchorage. Most of my shopping is done there because I really like high quality food, and my high quality food costs a lot of money down here in Homer. But if I make my way up the road, I can get it for like almost 25% less money. So I take trips up there.
That's so amazing. And it's so fascinating to think of you up there in Alaska and just that busy season and just having guests every single day. And we're going to get into that in a moment because I want to hear about like how you take care of them through like mastering your weight around this. But I know that you had a struggle with weight a good part of your life, and maybe just talk to our viewers about that. Like, take us back to when did you first start struggling with weight? Was it before or after you moved to Alaska? Because you said you moved to Alaska when you were quite young, right?
Yeah, yeah, when I was quite young. Um, I have to say that my struggle with my weight really happened when puberty hit. I didn't want to feel fatter. Oh no, I'm getting heavier, so I can have my first recollections are in the teen years, and I have early recollections of trying strange diets as a high schooler with girlfriends. It seemed to be a thing. I knew that
Mm.
there were even girlfriends that had problems where they were like doing the binge eating and throwing up in the bathrooms. I knew there were stuff like that going on, which I wasn't, but I was a very good eater and always have been. I was raised in a wonderful Italian family with very high skilled cooking skills. Plus, I came from Buffalo, New York. If you guys know about Buffalo, New York, that's the land where chicken wings were created. And so I was raised on
Like,
some foods I
there
didn't
was a
necessarily.
huge Italian American community in Buffalo as well, right?
Correct.
Uh,
Yeah. Hmm.
my friend who is a writer wrote Cabrini, which is the film about Mother Cabrini, and they shot it in Buffalo. They were shooting for early New York City, and he said all these Buffalo Italians were making him all this food and taking it to his hotel room. I mean, it was crazy. So anyway, sorry, sidetrack over there, but I was just wondering if your family was like part of that Italian American part of Buffalo.
Yes. Yes, it was.
That's
And
so
is.
cool.
Yeah. I came from a
Anyway,
very
I
large
interrupted.
family.
Sorry.
Oh, no trouble. No trouble. There's nine in my family. And to go Yeah, yeah. And to go on a little bit, the pizza and wings things, that was just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, if I think back, my mother, God bless her, was working hard to try to feed a big family. And so there were other things like in Buffalo, New York, we used to drink like we ha my parents, it was tradition to have a glass of wine, but for us, it was Hawaiian punch. We didn't have the wine in our cup, but we had Hawaiian punch. And I look back on it now, I'm like, that's pure sugar. What was I drinking? Like, okay. And I don't, my parents didn't know that they might be setting me up for, future insulin resistance or metabolic issues. They didn't know when I was a kid drinking Kool-Aid, but I look back now and I'm like, wow, what a lifestyle I did live, and I enjoyed the food. I enjoyed it. But today it's not food that I try to have in my life. My inner coach catches me and stops me right away when I go to those places of trying to find comfort in those
Mm,
areas, because it's not the place. And that's what I used to do as a child. So, um,
mm.
yeah.
So as a child, you started, and then And then I know you said that you moved to Alaska when you were around 18. Was that a time that you were struggling as well, or did you go on diets and were you successful like with keeping it off for some time? Because I know you got married.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess I could go back to saying all growing up, I came from a very athletic family and did a lot of athletic activities, and I think that always kind of kept me in check. But yeah, Alaska definitely okay. I was came out here when I was 18. I got married when I was 20 and had my first or I got came out here when I was 18 married. Had my first baby when I was 20. And to be honest with you, I really feel like as I kind of described before, comfort with food was a thing for me. So feeling uncomfortable, I feel like stress was a big issue for me, and my way of helping myself with stress was food. And so when people don't gain weight during pregnancy, I'm like, wow, that's amazing because I feel like pregnancy was a stress for me and I felt like eating was a comfort while I was pregnant. So I did gain weight when I was pregnant. I had four sons. I have four sons. And so the opportunity to overeat was really there for comforting myself. And yeah, I it was hard to get that weight off once I started having my babies. So
How
yeah.
close together are your sons?
They're two and a half years apart. I did have a break between the second and the third there because I
Mhm.
did have a miscarriage again, another stress that happened. But I always felt like, being in a fishing family, my husband was a fisherman, which is a stressful occupation, and
Mhm.
then raising children a lot by myself for periods of time. Again, there was that whole stress thing and trying to find we all want to be at peace with how we're living. And I didn't know that I was doing a disservice to myself by looking for the comfort. Like even the New York food, I was like, can you send me right now some of those cannolis or cream horn in the mail just so that I get a package from her? I really wanted that, and my sister Angela, she would send it to me. She'd be like, I'm sending Maria a care package. Look at I hear I get the beautiful salmon and the best you can eat. And I'm still calling for home for the wrong thing because I didn't know the shift program back then. I didn't know how important it was to work on my mindset instead of I did what I found I could, which was I found comfort with the food. So
Yeah. Yeah.
mhm.
So years went by, like after your boys were small, were you still, was it still turning to the food or were you trying to diet at all? Like, did you get onto the yo-yo diet cycle thing or what? Tell us a little bit about that.
Ah, man, I was an expert. I feel like there are so many diets in my past. I probably could tell you how they worked and what didn't work and the different names of the different types. And I right now can still pull off like recipes for the cabbage soup that was. I mean, I love that stuff. I mean, I just felt like it was such a help. And during my younger years, I would bounce right back with extra exercise. I could just
Mm,
overdo an extra exercise. I feel like it hurt me in my later years, especially in menopause. It really hurt me because I feel like without the hormones, I turned into developing my conditions that were just causing more and more weight gain. I couldn't understand why. I had to become wise within myself because I live in an area where well, first of all, I have to mention I don't have insurance. I own my business and I don't have insurance. So I want to take care of myself. So I'm always researching what do I need to do next. But I was not doing so well when menopause hit. And so yeah,
mm.
I don't know. I'm probably jumping all over the board here. I
No,
don't
you're
know.
not. You're being cohesive. I get it. Like you could do it. You could pull it together. You could lose the weight. You could exercise. You could get off.
Yep.
And I think a lot of our listeners could resonate with that. I think, I joke like everybody could write their own New York Times bestselling book. It sounds like you got the recipes. You got the gumption. But
Yes.
um, so then menopause hit, and it sounds like you you hit some medical like or some physical roadblocks.
Right. All right. I really feel like, well, Alaska, there's some challenges just from living in Alaska that the average person doesn't have. And I think I mentioned it for you, like the snow shoveling for one, like, so I even snow shoveled when I was pregnant. I had issues. I gave birth alone because my husband went out crab fishing and not back. So there were a lot of extra
Wait,
things
you
that
gave
were,
birth alone, like you were on your own giving
I was
birth
on my,
to a baby?
not on purpose. I mean, I got to the hospital. I had my
Okay, you
girlfriend.
okay. So you
Right,
had some help at the hospital, but it was like he wasn't
yes,
there by your side helping. Oh, okay. Thank God.
right.
I had this vision of you like snow shoveling
I'll
and
buy you
giving
myself.
birth at the same time.
Yeah. Anyways, it's, there's so much to it. Like, I was a crab fisherman wife. So, I mean, there
Oh
was one time where I took the kids out, I took one son, actually not two, but one son out crab fishing, helping with cooking with the crab. And I remember it was awful. It was very stressful and depleting. And so I came back and, I started to feel worse. I'm sure it was my adrenal glands being depleted because I had extra things happening, but I felt like I could just keep going because I was young and this is what I did. So eventually there was a painful part where the weight wasn't coming off. So I was like, okay, I need to exercise more. And I started to do instructing. Like I became a Zumba instructor and I work out all morning till the afternoon. I teach different classes, thinking this is what's going to help me. I just kept doing more and more. But what I was doing was setting myself up for a fall. And the over exercising was not a good thing. It actually was worse. And it went from adrenals to my thyroid, which
my
I
goodness.
didn't really recognize it until I was 60 pounds overweight and hitting perimenopause and trying to figure myself out. Again, going to doctors, but not wanting to spend so much money that it was out of pocket. It was expensive for me. So um, yeah. So 2020 was an interesting time period. In the middle there, my marriage did break up, and that was very stressful. And coming to a place of 2012 or 13, there was a man that came into my life, and I felt like, oh, this is going to be wonderful. I'm going to have um, extra support, and it seemed to fit, and he seemed to be a good Christian man, and I just really felt like it was going to work, and it did not work. In 2022 he decided to leave too, and that's when I was at my very worst. I
Oh,
was 100 pounds overweight, afraid to step on the scale. I would not even want to go near it, because I had gotten so big. Everything was hurting. And I had some encouragement, and I'll tell you what it was. I was doing essential oils and helping people with essential oils. And there was this topic that said, oh, we have these supplements and they're going to really help you, and it's going to really be a changer for you. And
mhm.
and to be honest with you, I feel like it has been a great base for me to get these supplements. But the thing about it is everyone who took them, and it started for me, they started in September, but I started in October. I was so hurt. My feet were hurt. Everything was not, I couldn't move well back then. I was just really, went declined. And my son, I'm gonna go all over the place. Oh gosh. Okay, my son is a Special Forces Green Beret, and he's been doing it for a long time. And he's in Okinawa, Japan, and
Oh, wow.
he is due to retire this year. But in 2021, 2022, I said to myself, I have to get there before won't. He'll say, Mom, I'm too busy. You can't come now. So I'm like, I got to get there. Well, I was 100 pounds heavier. And for me to make a flight to Okinawa, Japan was a very big deal. I mean, my feet swelled. It was many, many hours on a plane. And when I got there, I could just see the disappointment in his face. Like, what has happened to you, mother? I just knew I did not look healthy, and I did not feel healthy, and I felt like it was too hot and everything about being there, but I was with him, and he's like, let's do this. And then I'd be like, but you can't walk. I'm like, I want to do it. So he ended up getting me a little electric scooter thing, and it was just so humbling and so not where I wanted to be. And I'm so grateful today for that experience, because it really said to me, Maria, everything you did with over exercising and giving yourself the treats, even when you know you shouldn't, all those things that I know, I'm like, you got to make a change. Something big has to happen for you for a change. So here I am. I decide I'm going to take these supplements as my base of nutrition. I'm so grateful. I mean, collagen and berberine
Uh-huh.
were in them, and they were very big helpers for me. But I will tell you that from October to January is very depressing time. I did not meet shift until February. So December to January, I decided this isn't happening as fast as I want it to be. I'm going to go to the doctors. So I go to the doctors and I say, please help me. I don't know what to do. I'm on these supplements and I'm still like, I lose a little and then I gain, and we're talking about half a pound and a pound and a pound. And then finally it adds up to 10 pounds. And then I'll eat for 2 days at Christmas and comes 6 pounds back on. And it's just very discouraging. So I'm like, I need some help. And she's like, well, I could put you on this $1,000 weight loss medication. I'm like, no, can't do it. And she's like, I have something that's free you could be doing. I'm like, what? And she said, I want you to start listening to some podcasts. And so I didn't find you yet. Remember, it's January. So
Okay.
I started to listen to podcasts, but it opened up my world of researching differently for weight loss at that time, which was wonderful. I listened to Andrew Huberman, Jason Fung, things about intermittent fasting and giving
Yeah.
my digestion a break. And then I saw Rita's Facebook, and it said, have you ever thought about it being in your mind, that you need to have that other food, or you need to have it at the this you can't, you'll start on Monday, those kind of topics. And I'm like, oh my goodness, that's totally me. That's what I do. I feel like, well, I'll just exercise it off. I use something justification in my head, and those are all, my rebel is big. My critic is big too, but my rebel is pretty big. But I have a big coach. I've lost a lot of pounds through the years, like hundreds of pounds through the years. My coach is there. It just was like cowering in the corner, like, I don't know what to do. She's so big.
Your
You
critic and
know.
rebel threw your coach in the closet, shut the door, and
Yeah,
locked it.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it was interesting time period for me. And February, I found end of January, beginning of February, I found that they were going to be doing a shift and starting this pre-shift. And so I'm like, I want to join this free page. And I remember just feeling like there were other people just like me that didn't understand this mindset thing, but felt like that might be the key to the change.
Mm.
At this point, I don't even really know what was wrong with me. I have to mention this because this is a big thing. In 2020, I was married to this wonderful man who hadn't left me yet, but he was very, very ill. And I'm like, I am going to save the day and help him be healthier and help everybody else. I am quite the caregiver of other people. I actually do that for work a lot on the off time. I'm a death doula, certified, and have
Wow.
owned and operated, an assisted living for 15 years where I helped the elderly. So that's what I have a passion for helping other people, but in the midst of it all, it's real easy for me to not look at myself because I'm helping other people. So it's a what do you call that? A double-edged sword or whatever, where it's
Yeah.
just not, it can be good, but I have to pay attention to me in order to be able to do that work. So in 2020, I went to school to become a nutritionist. I went to Functional Nutrition Alliance with Andrea Yakanami, and I did that for a 2-year degree to get this functional nutrition. I did not do it so that I would go out and be a functional nutritionist. I did it because my husband was very ill. He was so ill that I felt like I wanted to dive deeper. And I also knew I was ill. I mean, I was really hurting. So I really wanted to help myself too. So I thought if I learn all this stuff, I'll be able to help myself. But I look at it now, and it was this, like, another step in my journey of good education to get me to the place of where I am today. But yeah, it was very, very helpful. So back to the shift. So in February, here I am. I open this page and I see all these people that have similar things. And then I print off the workbook. And this workbook and going through these things were all so spot on at, like, yes, this is the best of this. This is the best. Rita must have known. She must have, you must have really done your dieting in the past too, because you've took the best of all these topics and you've put it together. And I'm like, wow, I just learned in functional nutrition about this. And look at Rita's bringing up right here for these people. They don't even know they're getting such good information. Like, this is a great education. So anyways, I just was impressed right away. I think the thing that really got me was the hypnosis meditation part, because I am a woman that I've been a Christian. I was raised Catholic, and then I became a non-denominational Christian in the midst of it all. So I feel like I have a very strong foundation of who I am in my faith and my beliefs. And I thought, I don't understand hypnosis. I thought that was something that they did on cruise ships and the people moo like a cow. I mean, I did not realize that this was me. This was about me, looking at me, going into myself and what I want for myself. And it was like super freeing. Like, it changed my prayer world. It changed my way I look at myself and my communication with who I believe my creator is. It really has been a super help. I feel like that was the biggest mind-blowing help for me, making good friends with myself and who I am, and recognizing that I need to cherish me, like right where I'm at. Metabolic syndrome, Maria, insulin resistant Maria. Just love yourself. It's okay. And wow, that was huge, especially when my husband said, I don't want you anymore. And he never said it was because I was too big. I'm sure it wasn't. I'm sure it was all about what was in his head, what
Yeah.
what was going on with him. But for me, I'm like, this gives me the opportunity no longer to sit there and focus on him, and to say, look at myself. And this program came at the most opportune time. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for this 100 pounds of loss, because really in October, before I started the shift, that's when I did weigh myself, and I have all the measurements. The measurements are huge, like way different. And I was 247 pounds. I am right now 147 pounds. And so I'm at the 100
Amazing.
mark. Yeah. And
Congratulations.
my goal is 145. So I'm still 3 pounds from that goal, but I'm so feel right there. I'm right there. It's just a
You
matter of
are
time.
there. That is so fantastic. And you
Yeah.
look amazing. You look
Oh,
healthy and vibrant. What a story. But so I have some questions for you within all of that, because I know, because I said I'm going to ask you these questions, Maria. So because I want to get into this journey of 100 pounds, and you said your inner coach. And you also run this business, because I think this is important for our listeners to know, because our listeners are busy people who do busy things, and it's really easy for our mindset to go like, I don't have the time to take care of myself. Maria, you do a lot of baking with your world, so I know baking is a big change and challenge. I mean, not change, but a challenge for some of our listeners who, I know some of our listeners don't cook at all, but some of our listeners are like very into cooking and baking, and Maria has to do this for a living. Tell us a little bit. I know you built this B&B in the middle of Homer, Alaska, and you've had it now for, I want to say 30 years. My math is really bad, but it was somewhere around 30 years.
Yeah, so pretty close. 1997 was the first
Oh,
year.
okay.
Yeah, very
Amazing.
close. Thank
And
you.
so
Thank you.
and so what happens, tell our listeners, like every summer, it's a summer seasonal business, right? So people come up every summer and you're cooking for them. Like
Yes.
I mean, you're doing amazing pastries and baking and stuff. Tell us about that.
Right. Yeah. And I even have a cookbook that's a breakfast cookbook. So I do. Yeah. So I have a lot of visitors that come through my door. I have 7 units. One of them's a 2-bedroom apartment. So we can, do about 15 to 20 people in a day. And we feed them breakfast. And so I like to cook. And I like to be authentic in who I am, being Alaskan. So most of what I cook and bake and make comes from the area. Like I pick the blueberries for the blueberry jams and the raspberries for the raspberry sauces. And I make a special spruce tip syrup for the sourdough pancakes. But so when I cook, that's to me vacation food now. I have made a decision in my mind,
Mhm.
and this was new since the shift. I made a decision in my mind that I was cooking for other people. This was not for me to be partaking in. I already know I could do these recipes in my sleep. I do them so often that it's fine for me to tell myself that I don't need to eat it, but I can enjoy them having their meal. And I make some really nice, fresh fruit type dishes too, which really help me feel like I'm not just giving them carbohydrates. But to be honest with you, the average American on vacation really wants to have what they consider a special breakfast. And so I do cater toward the baking of some really nice baked goods. I decided early on with the shift, if I am hypothyroid and I do have this issue where I'm trying to not eat gluten myself, which again, I'm not celiac, but there are some guests that come through, but that I would be able to partake in making things happen. So I actually have 3 sourdoughs right now, 3 sourdough starters in my kitchen. One is a rye sourdough starter, and I make a wonderful sauerkraut rye, hearty buckwheat, but it's not buckwheat, it's sourdough rye, which is very low gluten with sauerkraut. And it's delicious.
Is that a
You
savory?
would never guess it. It's really good. Yeah. And then I have rice sourdough starter made with rice flour. And I also have my regular sourdough. So I do cater in my I do not let someone who's trying to be gluten-free go. They get to have gluten-free products. They get to have some nice, yummy things that I've been creating since I've been learning Shift. And yeah, so
That's
I'm
very
pretty
cool.
pleased. Yeah, pretty pleased.
We're gonna have to put the link to your your B&B in the show notes because
Yeah,
everybody's going to want to come visit you now. I definitely do.
yeah,
Yeah, because sourdough can be low glycemic, right? It's a low glycemic food if you're
right.
it doesn't spike your blood sugar and it sounds like you're, especially if you're using like rye or buckwheat. And I know buckwheat can be very healthy. So well, good for you. I know people do
Mhm.
expect the big carb festival in the
Yeah.
morning when you got a B&B. So what Maria said is very interesting, though, just from a cognitive perspective, because what she did, and I just want to point this out to our listeners, is she kind of made peace. She said, this isn't an option. And it wasn't like, I can't have it. It's just like, I can't have it right now. This is like not an option right now. And what that does in the brain is it kind of shuts off that dopamine, like I could have it, or I'm trying not to have it. When we're trying not to have it, the brain's still going to bug you for it. But like you were saying, when you were trying before, like prior to shift and making this peace with yourself, you would still be tasting and doing some tasting here and there. But when you said this is just not an option for me unless I'm on, you have some like loving boundaries, like unless I'm on vacation or unless I'm, a special occasion or a holiday, it's just not an option for me. So your brain has kind of gone dormant in that like opportunity to eat sort of area. I mean, just, yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
speak to
it's a
that.
closed door. It's a closed door
Yeah.
for me. I don't go past it now, which is super helpful because then I can continue to shift because I'm making food and I'm enjoying the people who are eating the food.
Right.
It's not for me to be eating it. And I did the same thing in the evenings, Rita. I didn't mention to you that before, but that's how I stopped with my eating window at a certain time and just saying, well, I'm gonna eat again. It's just not now. I'm gonna eat when it starts again. So I did that a lot in the evening for myself, and that was a huge help for my brain too. And I think it heals my body too. It's just good for your digestion to have a break at night. So
How long do
yeah.
you fast for? So like when do you fast from to, and like when do you cut food off in the evening and fast to the morning?
Yeah, so usually 7 o'clock is the latest that I'll allow myself, and most of the time it's 6:30 because I'm done eating my dinner by 6:30. But I in the morning with the bed and breakfast, I give myself hot tea that I so I've never been a big coffee drinker. I know some people are coffee drinkers, and I wish sometimes that I was, because some of the things I read are really good. Coffee's really good at for certain things, but I am more of a tea drinker. So in the morning, I cook and I have my cup of tea, and people are always like, "Aren't you going to eat now? Aren't you going to?" And what I say is, I eat with my staff when my staff eats, and it's after you guys are done. So I always eat about 9:30, and that's my eating time, 9:30.
Oh, well, that's great. And
Mhm.
and again, that's like kind of not an option to eat time anyway. So that's
Yeah.
amazing. How early do you have to wake up to start cooking in the morning?
I usually wake up at 5:45, and
Mm.
then my first breakfast for people is at 7. So
Okay. So that gives you
mhm.
time to get everything going in the kitchen and make sure your
Right.
staff's cooking and stuff. That's so cool.
Mhm.
Um, And so, what about movement and exercise? I know before you were coming in, Maria was like, "I'm just coming in from my Zumba class," and before we had our interview, uh, and so how in your journey of releasing 100 pounds, how did movement come back into your life? I mean, I'm assuming when you were at 100 pounds and you had swollen feet, you were not doing any sort of formal exercise, or at least not too much.
Yeah, so what started happening, I used to teach regular Zumba, and then I started to gain weight, and I have periods of time where I lose some and gain some. So I moved to Zumba Gold as I got bigger, and I said this is low impact and I have a hurt knee, so we're gonna do this now. And so I still kept one class going, just one class, and I used to do like 5, 6 classes in a week. I kept one, and I felt like the reason I was holding on is I felt like it was my lifeline. Like, you're really gonna be giving up on all activity if you give that up. And so I was holding tight to it. And my people, I mean, I have a small town, so they're so supportive of me. They all were like, "Come on, Maria," and like I'm yeah, so I'm teaching 3 classes a week now. When I was really hurting at 100 pounds, I want to just mention this because I really feel like it super helped me, and I don't even know how I came up with this idea, but it was so helpful. I got myself a mini trampoline, is what I did, and I didn't even have the strength to be able to like walk on it. I really had bad situation going on, but I bounced my feet on there, and I have a bar here, and I'd be like bouncing a little bit upward, and I just it was a super encouraging mind boost. So if you can find one, garage sale or Amazon, they're not that expensive. It was a super help. If you're at that 100 pounds or more, do not underestimate a little mini tramp as being a beginning step to
What a
lymph
great
drain.
idea. And it's good for your adrenals, right? Like when you hop up and down on that.
It's so good for you. I didn't realize what a good thing I was doing until I started doing it. I could feel myself improving with just using my feet and not my core, just my feet bouncing. I could feel the difference. Of course, quickly did try to add more. And then the next step after that for me was a recumbent bike, which
Mm.
I got a very cheap gym membership, like the cheapest gym I could find, and which is still expensive in Homer, Alaska, but it was good.
Worth
And
it.
I started with the recumbent bike too. So and I kept again my one class, and then I decided everybody was asking me, why don't we add a second class again? Why aren't we doing two classes like we used to? And so I'm like, okay, COVID's over, time to start to add that second class. So it started to add up again. I will never, ever overexercise again. I've learned my lesson that it's really not healthy for my body to
Yeah.
say, I'm just going to do more. But for those of you who aren't doing anything, please start to do something and find yourself a moderate amount instead of overexercising. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, that's what I've done anyway. And it seems to have really been a balance now. I feel like the whole thing is about balance, you know. Didn't
Yeah.
realize how important balance is, like how much food, you know, weighing stuff really helps you realize a balance. Like, oh, I was very unbalanced. My eyes were very unbalanced. I wanted to eat way more on a plate than I should.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
I think our eyes adjust and we lose sight of what reality is. And I mean, even as Americans, because you must observe this with seeing so many people eat, you've served them food. Like I remember being a waiter and a caterer, and I was, very much in the food industry for many years and seeing, you know, ha- different people's approaches to portion control and, and the different psychology of different people leaving food on their plate and not leaving food on their plate. And, I was very much a clean the plate club. I was brought up that way. And and I think a lot of our listeners probably are clean the plate club people too. But different people have different relationships to leaving food on their plate or how much is enough. And I think as Americans, we get very entitled to because American portions are so big when, you sit down and eat something. When I lived in Europe, the portions were way tinier and I got much more used to smaller portions. And when I came back to America, I just couldn't believe how big the portions were.
yeah. Yeah, and they are huge. I mean, I just went out last night and I brought like I only ate a quarter of my nice Mexican whatever burrito-y thing,
Uh-huh.
because it was all that I needed. I could see that. Whereas in the past, 100 pounds ago, I would have probably tried to finish it. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what my, so I've come so full circle. I'm so yeah, it's been really nice. It's, you know, I look back then, I could eat all that and not be concerned, but yet I was really afraid deep inside myself. I was so afraid of being so immobile I wouldn't be able to travel. I was so immobile I wouldn't be able to do things I love to do, the kayaking and the horseback riding. I did not want to be that person that couldn't do those things. But
Yeah.
yet, but yet I felt like I was going to eat my whole plate. You know, it's like it was
Yeah.
such a disconnect. You know, I'm so glad to be balanced, which I think the shift program, the hypnosis was the key. Some of you don't know, but I will tell you, like, if I had trouble sleeping, it was Rita Black most of the night. I put it on. Okay, you have trouble. I'm gonna get my hypnosis on. You have one that's for if you're having trouble sleeping. You have
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah. Get back to
I'll
sleep.
put that on. Yeah, get how to get back to sleep. It really
So,
works. This is
did you
wonderful.
find, because you did come from like you said, sort of a religious and Christian background, that idea of hypnosis was, were you afraid of the idea of hypnosis? Because sometimes people do have fear about hypnosis, and I completely understand that fear because
Yeah.
you do see the shows where people seem to be under the control of somebody else.
Yes, yes. Okay. So that for sure was in the background, but that has to do more with, I think, scary movies than what
Yeah,
you were offering. So yeah, so having the wrong perception of what hypnosis, I really felt like hypnosis wasn't really true. I mean, I felt like it
right.
really was like kind of a showman thing. I didn't really
Yeah,
recognize the that my brain was going to be able to go to these places. I mean, I can't tell you, I get excited now. Like I look forward to my hypnosis because I love my shift place. It's
yeah.
my vacation place. I look forward to going into my shift place. I am, and I was trying to bring that joy out of my shift place to the Facebook group when I did a post recently because I feel like it is people will start to get busy and think that maybe I won't do my meditation or my hypnosis or whatever. And that's my priority. It's a
Yeah, that's
priority.
great.
I've had so many years of my brain saying, letting the critic and letting the rebel come up and say all the things that made me get to 100 pounds. Um, that I need to really, I mean, my coach is pretty fortified now and I feel good about it, but I want to always make sure that that's the case because I feel like just like the 100 pounds, it's not instant. We're going to go back to these old patterns and yeah, I really feel like that's a refuge and a place where you, even when you don't know it, say I'm falling asleep and I still have those words going, but they're still going into my brain.
Yeah,
Yes, I
yeah.
feel like it's important.
Um, well, this has been so great. I want, like, if you had one piece of advice, like for somebody who is out there struggling, like what would be that first step forward? Like, obviously, you took a lot of different steps forward, to get on your journey. What would be that first step that you would advise them, or, say, yeah, maybe start here?
Right. Hmm. Yeah. Um, I would say, gosh, there, there's too many types of people out there for me to just really pinpoint because I would have a different message for different types of people. But I would say that the thing that I would say about the shift program is if you're thinking about doing it or you're dabbling in the free group or whatever, I would say do it. Don't dabble anymore, just go for it because I really recognize that a lot of those things that I learned from many years of dieting are all concentrated in this beautiful form in this program, so I really do
Oh,
really like it. um uh your very first things would be to make good friends with yourself and
hmm.
to tell yourself that it's okay. Like I used to always feel like I was blowing it. Like even when I ate a salad, maybe I ate too much salad. I mean, I always felt like there was a way I was blowing it. And it's like, just be a good friend to yourself. It's okay. You're not blowing it. You don't need to judge yourself. You don't need to feel bad about right where you're at right now. That's not the point. Just love yourself. So I guess my first tidbit would be to love yourself and to do it. Do the
Okay.
program. Do it.
Well, I think that's a great piece of advice, the part where you're just saying love yourself, and whatever decision you make from there, you're going to make a more powerful decision than from a place of not loving yourself. So, and I think what was really great about your journey was you really heard all the places you started making the connections to yourself, not just with our program, but just starting with getting to that place of such pain, like when you went to see your son, and just starting to make, like, I would say that was the beginning of your turning point to start to say, I got to make a change, and I gotta, let's just start with one thing. And you started looking and kind of finding that grounding in yourself. Because obviously, for somebody like yourself who's gone through how many Alaskan winters, who's
Yes. Wow.
some dark nights of the soul just from being, in the deep darkness of the Alaskan winter, running a business, every summer, and having sons and husbands go out to sea with, boats that you don't know are going to come back. I mean, you've got a lot of resilience and a lot of chutzpah and a lot of,
Mm.
um, you know, goods within you. But when it came to your health, that was the disconnect. And I think so many of our listeners are like powerful people out there in the world doing things, making difference, probably serving other people, loving other people, but not themselves. And I think you're kind of turning the tides and saying, wait, I got to take care of me here. That was the turning point for you. And I think that was really articulated very well, Maria. So thank you for doing that and sharing your amazing story with us. And I know Maria's got like workers who are downstairs and guests arriving. So thank you for sharing
Welcome.
yourself and your story with us and being so inspiring. And I'm so proud of you and your journey. And I wish you I think this is going to be an amazing summer.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I am hoping for that as well. And I'm pretty confident that we're going to have a beautiful one, because already the green and the beauty of Alaska is just absolutely amazing. I, it's a little overcast out there. Would you like to see what it looks like, Rita, out
Yeah,
my door?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead and flip it around. Let me see. I can't wait to go up to Alaska. And for those of you who've been listening to our podcast, oh my goodness, look at this. Okay. Wow. That is gorgeous. Wow, you are really in a beautiful place. And what a
Yes.
beautiful, I'm seeing part of her lodge now. It's a beautiful place. All right, we're going to put the link to your lodge, the show notes.
Okay.
You can come and have
Wonderful.
Maria's amazing healthy sourdough. All right,
Yes.
Maria, you
Thank
go and it's probably light there until 10 o'clock at night, right? In the winter, or 11 or
Yes.
12. Yeah,
Yes.
that's
Yes.
amazing. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. And we will look forward to, we'll have you back sometime soon, maybe in the dead of winter, so we can talk about winter in Alaska.
Oh, that would be fine. I'd love to do that. Thank you very much, Rita. You are an inspiration to so many people, but as you can see, 100 pounds later, what you've
Oh,
done and what you put together, it influences so many people. I'm just so grateful. Can't tell you.
oh, thank you, Maria. Thank you so much.
Maria, thank you so much for sharing that powerful story and all of your insights and your inspiration. You are such a powerful lady, and I wish you the best summer ahead with regards to your bed and breakfast, but also your continuing weight mastery journey. And again, if you are interested in making your own transformation this coming week, I am offering the self-study version of the shift, over $800 worth of bonuses. So get into that. The links in the show notes, and so is Maria Santa Lucia's bed and breakfast link to Homer, Alaska, her bed and breakfast there. I hope to get there sometime soon. Maybe you'll check it out. She showed me, as you know, the view from outside the windows, and oh my gosh, it is gorgeous. So have an amazing week, and remember that the key, and probably the only key to unlocking the door of the weight struggle, is inside you. So keep listening and find it, and I will see you here next week.
You want to dive deeper into the mindset of long-term weight release, head on over to www.shiftweightmastery.com. That's www.shiftweightmastery.com. where you'll find numerous tools and resources to help you unlock your mind for permanent weight release, tips, strategies, and more. And be sure to check the show notes to learn more about my book, From Fat to Thin Thinking, Unlock Your Mind for Permanent Weight Loss.